recording and the slides on the events page of Texas Realtors website. If you are signed up and online for this, you will receive a link to that later today or tomorrow. I do want to also let you know that the second Legal Series webinar of 2019 will be held on April 17th. That's also a Wednesday at 10 a.m. We will be bringing in one of our errors and omissions insurance partners to talk about insurance issues for brokers. So please put that on your calendar and be ready for that discussion. As for today, we will be taking questions as we go. If you have a question, please type it into your computer. We will be screening those here and providing those to Sergeant Barrera to answer as she goes. And with that, please let me introduce Sergeant Robbie Lee Barrera. She is with the Texas Highway Patrol of the Department of Public Safety. She graduated from Texas State in San Marcos and holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology. She has served the state of Texas for 25 years and currently serves as a sergeant in media and communications for the Department of Public Safety. We are very happy to have you here today, Sergeant Barrera, and with that, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Our topic today is personal and workplace safety. When I was first asked, it was basically on workplace safety, but I wanted to bring something to you guys that you not only practice while you were at work, but that you practice in your everyday activities. So this, unfortunately, needs to be the norm. So our goal here is to give you new insight and tools to improve and enhance your personal safety practices as well as your workplace safety practices. So let's think about when you're most vulnerable. Is it when you're walking in, unlocking a home, and your clients are standing behind you? Is it when you're getting groceries out of the car? Is it when you're taking your lunch break and you're taking a walk down? We're vulnerable during the day, but what I want you to do is just to think about all of those times. So when we're doing these things, are you paying attention when you're getting out of your car? Do you just get out of your car, close the door, and walk off, or do you kind of look at your surroundings and pay attention to what's going on and where you've parked? If you have small children, putting them in the car seat, we're all busy nowadays. That's going to take your eyes off what's going on around you. Loading or unloading groceries, a lot of us still go to the grocery store. Some of us have a luxury of just, going online at H-E-B and having them deliver it, but some still enjoy going to the grocery store. If you have your arms loaded with groceries, are you really paying attention to what's going on? Of course, I talked about when you're doing a family outing at the hiking or jogging trail. What about at work? Are you really paying attention to what's going on? And I realized that some of you not only don't come to the office every single day, but your car is your office. And I can relate to that because I'm the same way. So even though we're in our cars, you still need to be very observant and vigilant, because you never know that person you may or may not have shown a home to that may not have liked something you said. So just always be aware of your surroundings. When you're leaving a parking lot or a garage, even leaving in front of a home, if there's something that doesn't look right, I would make your senses it's probably not right. And then, of course, the last thing is maybe if you're having an open house, you may have a lot of things that you have inside your car, and you want to take it in the home. Well, how are you going to take those things inside the home? Are you going to just load your arms down and take everything in there? Or are you going to make more than one trip and be cautiously aware of what's going on around you? So, again, some things that distract us. I'm sure you guys are just like us in the Texas Highway Patrol. Everything's gone to computer. We do our tickets on computers. I'm sure most of your contracts are probably on computer. You're able to type it up and then print it out, and all someone has to do is sign it. Of course, cell phones are a huge distraction. GPSs, not all the time do we know where we're going. So here's just a few things that I talked about. What are some other things that could distract us when we are dealing with people, let's say in the office, or let's put it in an office setting. So if you have people that need to come in and sign a contract, do you know those people very well? Do you know if they're if they have received their license to carry and they have a weapon in their purse? Do you set them across from you or beside you? Just be aware of how you set up the situation at an office setting, even though there's multiple people in there. In a home setting, showing a home, don't let anyone walk behind you. Try your best to maybe be at that home prior to them showing up. And when you are showing that home, make sure they're walking in front of you and that you point or tell them where to go. We talked a little bit about the workplace. So if you're sitting in your car and you're on your phone texting clients, that really takes your eyes off what's going on around you. I don't know how many of you have a vehicle where you have a magnetic symbol on the side of your car that says who you are and who you represent. You're not exempt from being a target. We have lots of active shooter situations, and it doesn't have to be someone you know. It can be someone that just decides that they do not like realtors in that one day. So it's about you guys being vigilant in what you're doing. Again, in the workplace, if you go into an office, you need to be very vigilant on maybe someone got laid off. Pay attention to the demeanor of people. The number one place where attacks and active shooters occur is in commerce. So that's you guys working in businesses. People would like to think it's schools. Schools fall second or third down on the list. But interstate commerce is the number one place for active attacks. I'm very big on this, is not overpacking your arms for anything that you're doing. If you're walking, you have your cell phone in your hand, your eyes off the road or off what you're doing, you're not paying attention to that person that's going to come up and grab your purse or attack you. In the event that you do decide to just put too much in your arms because you're taking all of these things inside your open house, in the event that someone comes up, you have to be prepared to drop everything. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you are ready to fight. So let's play the what if game. I do this all the time. I do it in my car. I do it at my house. I do it when I go out with my family. So wherever you're sitting, think about this now. If an attacker came in the room where you're sitting right now, how many exits do you have? Do you only have the exit that you came in? And that's what most people think, is they only have that one exit. So what I want you to do when you're going into your office or your meeting, or whether you're in your home showing a house, I want you to evaluate all the exits you have when you walk into that space. So if it's in a house, even though you came through the front door, we know there's a back door. But what if we can't get to the back door? Well, there's some windows. If someone's gone past that threshold of putting their hands on you and attacking you for any reason, you take all means possible to survive and to get out of that situation. Here you can see man coming in. What are you going to do? We're sitting in a room. There's a table. I have 2 exits. I don't have very much defense in the room I'm sitting in. I could hide under the table, but logistically, wherever you're sitting, is that desk going to protect you if someone were to come in with a weapon? Probably not. The bullet will go straight through it. So know where your exits are. That's very important. how will you get out? What will you do if the exits are blocked? Have you thought about that? We expect that our exits aren't blocked, but maybe make it a point to check them. Even in a home, I would have all the doors unlocked, knowing that someone's coming in, because that taking that time to have to unlock those doors, when your heart rate gets elevated, you lose those fine motor skills. In the what if game, if something were to happen, let's say you were showing a home and someone comes in unexpectedly and you have a family and children, how are you going to protect everyone there? Because I know that's going to be your instinct, is to protect everyone, because this is your showing and your clients, and now someone's come in unexpectedly. Again, this is just the what if game to be thinking of what possible things could happen while you're doing daily activities or at work. So, are there cell phones? We rely so much on our cell phones to call someone, but sometimes our cell phones don't always work. So when you're out and about, especially late in the evening, maybe you're showing a home, make sure someone knows where you are, that you're showing a client a home at this resident or this address at a certain time. And whoever you share that with, they should know approximately how long it takes to do that. But always make sure that someone knows where you are. You definitely want to make sure your phone works in the event that you need it. If your phone doesn't work, what are you going to do? Again, that's a what if game. For most, is your phone accessible? Is it at the bottom of your purse, or is it you have you laid it on the counter and it may be a few steps from you? Just things to think about, okay? Definitely call 911. If you feel threatened in any way, in any situation, do not hesitate to call 911. I tell people that all the time. There is no wrong time to call 911. Let the police decide, or fire EMS, if it was an emergency. If you feel threatened in any way, definitely call. That's what it's there for, and that's what we're here for. Can you text someone for help if you're in a situation? You may not, maybe you were showing a home and someone came in and you closed the door. That's going to be a time you're going to want your cell phone with you, because if you didn't take your cell phone in and you're having to barricade yourself in the restroom, then you're not going to be able to text someone. Do you have, at work, if you're sitting in your office across the state of Texas, do you have messages or a way in your office if someone were to walk in? I just walked into this office here in Austin. I thought of different ways or different things that could happen as soon as I came up the stairs, and you just have to think of ways that you can protect yourself while you're in the back working. This is something people don't think about. For those of you might remember the Pulse nightclub fire many years ago. Most of the people died right at the front door because that was the only thing that they knew. They knew that they came in that front door and they needed to go out that front door. There were 5 other exits that no one realized. And then in the front of that building, there was 15 windows that they could have thrown chairs out of and broke a window, but they just didn't think of it. So the whole reason for this presentation today is to not only think about it when you're showing homes, is to think about it in your daily lives, to change your way of thinking in the way we live. And it's very unfortunate that we have to do that today, but that's the way our society's gone. So basically, you have to think like we do as police officers all the time. I don't know how many of you have heard of the OODA loop. So the first thing is that we need to be observant. We need to be aware of what's going on. When we are aware, what if we see something? So we need to orient ourselves. Something doesn't look right. I pulled into my garage. I'm not going to close the door before I get out of the car, but there's a white van parked in front of my driveway. So we're going to orient ourselves to what's going on. Once you see that something doesn't look right, then you need to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to go ahead and get out of your car, or are you going to close the garage door and then get out of your car? Just simple little things. Are you going to have your phone in your hand in case something's going on? Or are you even going to go into your house? Maybe with that white van parked in the driveway, maybe they've already made entry. So just things to think about. Once you decide what you're going to do, then you have to act upon it. Let's say you don't close your garage door and that person jumps out and runs into your garage. What are you going to do? You have to have that mentality that you're going to survive, and you have to know what you're going to do before it happens. So considering all these things, it's very important that you have a plan. I tell people this all the time. You know the scary movies that we watch, and the girl's running to the car, and she's so scared because the bad person is chasing her, and she can't get the key into the ignition. That will happen to you. Once your heart rate gets elevated, you lose your fine motor skills. For women, you tell yourself that if a guy attacks you, what are you going to do? You're going to knee him in the groin. If you do not practice that, it will not happen. I'm going to attest to that because I was in a fight with a guy, and my fine motor skills were to arrest, to handcuff. That's all I did. So when we got into that fight, I didn't practice kneeing in the groin, so it never happened. So you have to remember this. You have to practice something 1,000 times for it to become muscle memory. So rehearsing is very important. You have to train your brain to do that action, because once your heart rate gets elevated, you're going to lose those fine motor skills.
We have a question kind of in this plan that you're talking about and having a plan in mind. Do you recommend or have any recommendations regarding items that people should carry with them, like pepper spray or some other deterrent like that?
So anything that you feel comfortable with, I would carry. I don't know what your policies are here for the Texas Realtors Association, so whatever company policies are, I tell people that's the first thing that you must follow. Hairspray works just as good. I teach some hands-on defense to homeless women, and we buy them. They used to be 99-cent cans. Now they're probably $1.19. Little cans of hairspray. Simple things like that you probably already have around your home. Just remember, pepper spray is great. Tasers are great, but those can also be used against us. So you have to be prepared and ready to use it and able to use it. And you may have realtors that have their license to carry. If you're going to do that, you have to be proficient at using that weapon. You don't want to lose those fine motor skills because you're scared and then pull out one of those tools because you're not going to use it the way that you should. We practice all the time with our weapons, everything we practice with. So, body positioning is important all the time. Don't let someone place themselves to where they have an advantage over you or a potential threat. I always, so I'm left-handed, I have my gun on my left side. I'm always standing to my right side to anyone usually that I'm talking to. Just because I am in uniform, I don't expect anyone to do anything, but I'm not going to take that chance that they would. Like I said earlier, being aware of your surroundings is very important. You're walking, you have these open houses, they're empty. you're meeting sometimes strangers or you don't know them very well. Sometimes maybe you know them very, very well, but I would figure for the most part, they're just not someone you know very well. Be very vigilant. Have the tools to protect yourself with that person that you're showing that house to. Just be aware. Pay attention to the cars they drive. If something seems off, the biggest thing you can do is write down a license plate. That's a big help. You can take pictures on your cell phone if something doesn't look right. You can nonchalantly snap a picture of just about anything. I talked about this earlier. Again, try not to let people stand behind you. Make sure your peripheral view that you can see everything, okay? So again, parking lots, whenever you're having to go to a meeting or something, or you're in a parking garage like here in downtown Austin, be aware of your surroundings. When you're walking, keep your eyes moving. Make sure that you see everything going on. I always tell people to leave your cell phone out. Even when you're driving, don't get yourself boxed in, and I'm sure you guys do that a lot. You got to keep your eyes moving, get the big picture, and leave your cell phone out. Don't always box yourself in on anything you're doing. Whether you're parking your car in the driveway, if you park in the driveway, you don't have a way to get out. Park out on the street or across the street. Don't let them know who your car is or where your car is. All they have to do is know that you're there at that residence. So again, just a picture of peripheral vision. When you're walking into a room, just scan everything. Look for the exits. I'm in a room and there's only 2 doors. There's no windows. Again, you might be looking at it from a different way. You can see on the frame here, it's an exit. If I'm standing there talking to a group of people, I only have 1 door and it's as far away from me as possible. So unfortunately, in this situation, I'm put in a bad position. If I had a room like this, I would have all the people facing the door and put the lecture podium on the same end as the door. Just things to think about. There's always safety in numbers, whatever you're doing. If you're doing an open house for a few hours, have more than 1 person there, because you're going to have probably more than 1 family there looking at that house during that open house. People are not going to attack usually when there's safety in numbers. Also, don't be so routine on everything you do. I'm very conscientious about this. And you never know if you have made someone upset. You drive home the same way every single day from work. It doesn't take someone very long to get that pattern down. Do you go to work the exact same way and park in the same parking spot every single day? It's just things to think about, and that you don't even know if you might have upset someone and you didn't even know it. Kidnapping and assaults, unfortunately, they happen every single day. Texas Highway Patrol, this is some of our biggest stops. People have to drive, and we've covered many abducted children. What I have to say on this is, once someone puts their hands on you, at that point, there is no more doing what they ask of you, because they're not going to hurt you. They have already violated you by putting their hands on you to assault you or rape you or hurt you. So cooperation is no longer an alternative. And that is based on current trends. So what are you going to do? Anything that will get you away from that person. Make noise. I don't even care if they have a gun. If they have a gun and they tell you that if you cooperate, they're not going to hurt you, well, they've already hurt you. They've already put their hands on you. So you need to fight for your life. There's just no more cooperating. Make noise. Again, when someone does something to violate you, it's going to get your heart rate elevated and you're going to get scared. So you're going to have to be prepared mentally, practicing what you're going to do. So same thing that we just said. Again, think about when you're vulnerable, you walking around with our cell phones and our heads down, not even paying attention to what's going on around us, or getting out of the car and you're texting, walking up to the house before you go to the lockbox. You're really not paying attention. It's about limiting the distractions and paying attention. Once you get inside the home, lock the door, send your emails or whatever. Maybe you have a few minutes before someone gets there. And then make yourself, sorry, my phone's going off and I thought I put it on back. So make noise, use pepper spray, whatever you have. Your keys are an excellent tool. When we used to have, I carry a lot of keys. You can carry your keys that you can put one in each finger, especially if you're going out with your family, downtown Austin or anywhere, it doesn't matter. If you park a little ways, you can carry your keys in between your fingers, that your keys can actually be a tool. So use whatever you have. So what are you going to do if you're followed? Are you going to continue to walk to your car? Are you going to continue to walk to the house that you're fixing to show, or walk to your home? I wouldn't do it. I would walk to the closest place where there's a lot of people, call 911, drive. If you even think you're being followed in your car, and we're supposed to be keeping our eyes moving when we're driving, and that's what you guys do a lot. So, you know, looking in your rearview mirrors and your side view mirrors, if you see a car, do not drive home. Go somewhere else. So we say police station, fire station, public area. You're probably going to find a public area quicker than you're going to find a police station, and then probably you'll find a fire station. So what if you're followed? I do a lot of safety programs for the IRS, so you can imagine their concerns on being targeted. Always leave yourself an out at traffic lights. Don't pull so close up to that car in front of you that when you're rear-ended, you hit that car in front of you. Vary your ways of going home. Always lock your doors. Don't keep your keys in your cars in the garage. Getting a garage door open is easy. So always make sure it's locked, even if it's in the garage. And always be aware of when you're vulnerable and you're really not paying attention. And there are just some situations that we're going to be in, like you went into a restaurant and there's 5 of you and you were the last one to sit down, and guess what? You're back to the door. So now whatever happens or whatever comes through that front door in the restaurant, the people that you're facing are going to see what's going on prior to you. So talk to them. Hey, if something's going on, I'm going to go to the left or I'm going to go to the right. I know it seems crazy, but we have things crazy happen every single day. And Texas is one of the biggest states. We have a lot of things that go on here. Just when you didn't think that we'd have a school shooting or a church shooting, it happened here in Texas last year. So the biggest thing is to avoid distractions. And we talk about the cell phone, but we have spouses, we have children, we have things we need to get into our house, we have books, backpacks, a lot of things. So here's our defensive options, you guys, was the question earlier. So here's a couple of things. Again, go get your LTC license. But you don't have to have it to carry a firearm in your car. The state of Texas does allow you to carry a firearm in your car as long as it's concealed, can't be sitting out. The only thing that a license to carry license does is that it allows you to carry it upon your person. So if you don't have the LTC, you can still have it in your glove compartment or under your seat, just have it concealed. And then the question I get asked the most is, can it be loaded? Well, of course. I mean, if you're in a situation where you need to protect yourself, you're not going to have time to load it. That firearm can be loaded and ready to go. There are 3 exceptions, though, when you cannot, and I always cover these because I don't want someone to say, oh, well, she said I could carry it, but there are 3 exceptions. You can't be in the commission of a crime, you can't be a registered gang member, and there are registered gangs out there, and you can't be a convicted felon. If you're any of those 3, you cannot have a firearm in your possession. If you do, and you're stopped by the police and it's found, then you're in violation of that. Pepper spray. I don't carry pepper spray anymore on my gun belt because I don't have room for it, because I have to carry a taser. But remember, pepper spray travels with the wind. So if you use pepper spray and you're spraying that person, you're going to get some of that back in your face. If you are someone that does carry pepper spray, you need to spray it into the air and let it come back in your face so you'll at least know how it feels. We all had to get sprayed just so we would know how we would react and what we would do. Again, it's a mental thing. You have to mentally be prepared to take care of yourself. And when it says don't solely rely on 911, I can assure you when you need help, and I've been there in my job position in 25 years when I needed help, help came, but it doesn't get there as fast as you need it to get there. And that few seconds can seem like an eternity. Carry a flashlight, that's kind of easy. You can get all kinds of little things for your keychains that'll give you light. No, flashlight. And then, of course, we told you, when someone puts their hands on you, all bets are off. You're going to fight until you're away from that person and you can get some kind of help. Get that out. So in the what if game, in the mental aspect, again, you have to do something 1,000 times for it to become repetition. But mentally tell yourself you are not going to be a victim. It's not an option, and you are going to attack. And that person that is attacking you is not going to expect that. They're going to expect for you to comply with their demands because they have a weapon of some sort. You're not going to do that. Okay. Some of this I thought I took out. Changing habits starts with you. You have to practice these things. And by practicing that, you can do that with playing the what if game in everything you're doing. So always remember, we can never be 100% protected. If you use your best practice and just be aware of everything and not being a victim, not being aware of your situation, you can prevent anything from happening to you. Okay, so I want to go to the assessment test levels. So these levels came from the attacks of 9/11, and we still use them today. And none of us want to go from green to red, but sometimes that happens. We want you to stay in the yellow range, and that you're consciously aware of what's going on around you. And then as things start to progress, then you're saying, something's not right. So then you start going up to the higher threat levels of whatever's going on. So in watching this video, it's kind of hard because you're not here with me, but you have the ability to show her your hands. I want you to tell me in this video. This is a school board meeting, and it's open to the public. and someone is coming in and they're very upset. So if you can just do a show of hands once we start the video when you feel threatened. I'm just curious. We're not keeping names or anything. Okay. So the next, okay. Do we have volume? All right. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Is that not the craziest thing? At the point in which he sprayed the V on the wall for vendetta, I mean, I would have been out of there. But the school board members just sat there. They never left. Again, this can be in any situation that we're in. That guy had a gun in his hand, and there's no reasoning with someone who has a gun. I mean, he has an agenda, and I would have And if you watch it again and again, you see many opportunities that the school board members had, especially when the little old lady came and hit him on the head with her purse. Some of those school board members could have left, and they didn't. They just sat there. And I don't think they intentionally did it. I think they were in shock and disbelief of what was going on, and their heart rates got elevated that they just didn't make the right decision to get out of there. Luckily, no one got injured. He was not a very good shot. The school resource officer did shoot him. He was not killed. So good. It was a good thing that no one was killed that day. There were some injuries. But again, it's just being aware of what's going on, and when something does happen, take some action, get out of there, and get it to safety. So anything we would like to talk about?
I have a question. What is your view of self-defense classes for individuals?
They're very good, but it's something, again, when you take self-defense, that you have to practice these things. You can go in there and take it, but if you don't practice it, you won't use it. So our muscle memory is to do whatever we do automatically. It is something that does have to be practiced.
And do you know, are instructors now teaching, perhaps in the self-defense classes, not just when you're physically being assaulted, but if you're in an active shooter situation, like what steps to take, those types of maneuvers?
Yes, and I can come back at a later date and we can do a CRAZE training. It's civilian response to active shooter. That's a whole program that's very good. Man, it's avoid, deny, defend. So if we can get out of the situation, get out. If you can't get out, then, close the doors, barricade yourself in, turn all the lights off, turn your cell phones off so that no one's around you. But if those two things don't work, then you have to fight.
Okay. And I'm just going to remind the audience, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those in. We've got some time and a lot of information to share.
Anything you ever want to ask the state trooper?
Yeah, anything you ever want to ask. This is your opportunity.
Well, before we get to those questions, I do have another question on safety. We have a lot of property managers or our members that own properties that lease it out, and sometimes they have to deliver a notice to vacate to the tenant in an eviction situation. Any specific advice for people in that situation? They're walking up to, say, a single-family residence, knowing they're going to put a notice on the door telling the tenants that they
knock on the door and hand it to them, or do they just put it on the door?
It can depend. Sometimes the notice can be on the inside of the door, posted on the inside of the door. There's limited circumstances where it can be posted on the outside. Sometimes in situations where there's a safety concern, it could be personally delivered. There's a number of ways it could be delivered.
So one thing that I think that you guys should be able to do would be contact your local constable's office in your area, because that's what they do. But when you're walking up, look to see how many windows there are. That's very important. What type of door it is, and always look for video cameras. I was serving a notice the other day with the Williamson County Constables, and we walk up on this house, exactly what you're saying, and there's a window here so they can see me, and then I look up and there's a video camera, so they're already watching us. So I'm walking around to give myself protection. So again, it's just being observant. If you can see them, then they can see you. If it's possible as a realtor to go to your local constable's office and talk to them and say, we have to do this every now and then, I'm sure that they would partner with you guys by any means, or even have them come and give presentations on serving papers on how to do it safely, because they do that. And I can give you some resources on that.
Great idea. Here's a question. I don't know if you would have anything to recommend, but I see from time to time different safety apps through the phones, through iPhones. Is that becoming more commonplace? Do you think they're helpful? Are they perhaps relied on in a way that wouldn't be helpful in a situation?
for adults as realtors?
I think it's for adults. It's a way to quickly hit a button to let somebody know that you're in trouble. Maybe it's a tracking thing on your phone. I haven't actually looked at them myself, but I know they're out there.
I have one on my phone now, but it's for my daughter that's 14. So, and I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure on that. I know that one thing that I think is important is to always let someone know where you're going to be. Cell phones can be tracked easily, even if you knew that I was going to be somewhere and you couldn't get a hold of me an hour later. When you call the police, they're going to be able to track a cell phone pretty quickly. But anything that's going to make you safer in whatever you're doing is definitely going to help.
And having somebody know where you are.
That's the most important thing.
Apps may help with that ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
No questions? You can ask the state trooper anything.
So here's a question. What were the tips for placement of the screen, speaker, and seating during association meetings? How should a meeting be set up to protect or avoid any dangerous situations?
So evaluate your room. And the one picture that I showed you guys, they had the lecture podium in the corner opposite of where the door is. And the door swung open into the room. So for someone to come in, and everyone in the audience, their backs were to the door. So for someone to come in, we're already at a negative that someone's going to get hurt. It's going to take y'all a few seconds for you to notice that I'm making a decision because there's a threat, and that's time that we don't have. So put everyone facing the door always, and the lecture podium closest to the door, in that when it comes open, you can see it automatically. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Here's a question. You talked about, really at a certain point, cooperation is not really an option. Is there any situation where it would be advisable to cooperate, depending on the threat, or is it just always no?
When someone puts their hands on you, they don't. At that point, they've gone past that threshold. You have to fight. I don't know who remembers the Twin Towers going down and the one plane that prevented, the passengers prevented them from hitting their target. Those guys were going to fight. They knew it. I mean, you have to fight. They've already violated you. They're going to continue. It's just going to be worse. I'm going to fight. Yeah.
Well, if there's no more questions, we're very close to the end time.
And if you do have some and you email her, I'll answer anything because she may
know. Wonderful.
But, and we did have one more question. So at what levels or situations should you report your interaction with an individual to an officer?
What do you mean?
I think her question is there a certain situation where, you were concerned for your safety or feared the individual? Should that then be reported to an officer? Is there any...
Are you serving a paper, or is this a person that's wanting to?
Maybe it's a person in your vicinity, whether at work or whether it's a client showing a house. At what point? I think you have the threat thresholds for threats, but at what point does your comfort level such that you need to contact the police?
So the first thing I think I would do is notify my company that it's going on, because internally they need to know. And hopefully they would be the ones to take care of it. But if not, and it's going on outside, I would contact the police and maybe get a restraining order. But I would let internally work know, because we have protections inside our work. Because we still need to maintain that ability to work and do business too, without feeling threatened, but we don't want to be that person. I don't know if I'm explaining it. I'm looking at y'all, but I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. We have to be very well-rounded in what we do. But if you feel threatened at any time when you're showing a house or doing a paper, you need to call 911 immediately. But if it's something that's kind of continuously and you can make reports, I would start at a company level.
So maybe if you see that activity start to elevate,
yes,
would be a good trick.
Yeah.
And we've got a question here from an attendee about the screen that had the yellow, green, and red list. If she could do that again, and if you could kind of just generally talk about.
Not going back. Oh. So these are assessing your threat level. So, you know, low threat level would be language, argumentative, lack of cooperation, anger, blaming others, failure to change. And then the moderate threat level is, you know, they're saying that they're going to harm you physically, disregard for other safety, jokes, paranoid. So there's just different threat levels as they go. And then a high threat level is physical aggression or destroying property, putting their hands on you, a weapon. But you don't want it to get to that high threat level. We want, once it starts at the low threat level, I think that you should let the company know that these things are going on. And if you don't feel comfortable letting them know, then just document them, document the things that are going on. And then as maybe the moderate threat level comes up, then you take it to the company and you have that documentation of, well, this happened at this time, this happened at this time. It was kind of moderate and I thought I could take care of it, but it's starting to escalate just a little bit, so I'm bringing it to your attention. Okay.
So the question is about the eviction and the notice to vacate issue. The question is, will a constable or peace officer escort me to deliver a notice to vacate or other document to tenant that I'm concerned about dealing with my safety?
So a police officer may not, but a constable. So if you'll get with your constables in your area, that would be something that they may help you with if you feel threatened. You just have to make contact with them. I know when I have papers that I need served, I give it to them and they serve it. So I'm not for sure why they wouldn't help you. I will look into that, and I will also leave a name and number here of a constable that I know personally that you can call and can answer a lot of your questions and even do a presentation on that. I hope that answered her question.
Yeah, that would be great.
Please email the ladies, and they will email them to me, and I'll get whatever you need in your area. I'm stationed here in Austin, but there's plenty of us across the state that can do presentations locally wherever anyone is.
Wonderful. I can't believe nobody asked any questions about cheating on I-35.
I know, or if I give you 5 miles over.
How to get out of a ticket, but I thought we might have some of those. As a reminder, we did record this presentation. The audio and the slides will be available later today or tomorrow on the events page of TexasRealtors.com on the website. The next Legal Series webinar will be April 17th at 10 a.m. on errors and omissions for other insurance. We haven't nailed down the specific topic within there yet, but we will do that soon. Thank you for being here today, and we will see you next time.